Welcome back to my channel, and this is Ask Uncle Lee Wednesday. So if you are new here and you don't know what the hell's going on, basically Ask Uncle Lee Wednesday is ask a question about magic or witchcraft or something related to that in the comments to one of these videos, and I will add it to the list and then I answer it on this show. Alright, so if you do have any comments, because in order to keep the show going, I need questions. So just ask your questions, just drop them in the comments, and I will be sure to add it to the list. All right, but let's do a quick intro and then we'll get straight into it. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Alright then, let's go to the first question, which is from Gazing at the Moon. Thank you for this video. I wanted to ask, pleasure by the way, sorry about that. Can other people's prayers that mention you affect you personally and hinder your connection with spirits that they deem evil, such as Lucifer, Satan, Ghosts, Daemons? For context, a family member is a strict Christian and told me they make sure to pray for me every day. For my own safety, they have no idea I'm interested in demonolatry. I know their intentions are overall good, but I worry it might impact me in some way. Even if I don't share their beliefs, should I just ignore it? Right, so let's have a look at this from an energetic perspective, really. So what's a prayer? It is putting out a petition to a particular deity. And sure, that deity may not align with your own entities, your own understanding, or your own worldview, really. You work with other entities, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. But it's really just putting energy out. And this is what we do with spell work and magic. We put energy out to achieve a particular task. It holds a particular force or intention, added to our will, which then gets sent out as energy. Depending on how you're actually doing this, there's a difference between sympathetic magic and what you may do with sigil magic, for instance. But the idea, broad idea, at the end of the day is very similar. So this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of prayer. It's really just sending out energy to achieve a particular thing. And in this case, it is to protect you. Nothing wrong with protecting you. That's what the prayer is for, is to protect you. And we do protection magic for ourselves and for our family and friends, our loved ones. So really no difference between this and what we might be doing. But at the same time, absolutely nothing wrong with somebody praying for you. Again, coming back to the energetic transference, it's a projection of energy towards you, and you can actually take that energy and use it for whatever purpose you want to. So usually when people pray for me, I thank them because I can use that energy that they're actually projecting towards me. So yeah, nothing wrong with people praying for you. And if they're, being a strict Christian, I would kind of keep it on the down low that you are practicing anything to do with witchcraft or magic or any such thing, because it's going to just inflate the idea that this person has to save you from something. So it doesn't just become simple protection, then it becomes trying to save you from an eternal existence in the fiery pits of hell, which we don't believe in anyway. So for us, it doesn't exist. Yeah, I'd keep that on the down low. It's not necessary that everybody has to know what you do. It's a very personal thing. It's your own personal path. It's your own personal worldview. So it's really not got anything to do with anybody else, unless you feel like you are in company that you can safely do that. So otherwise, yeah. All right. So yeah, it really is a case of projection of energy to achieve a particular task. In this case, it is protection of you, which we do in magic all the time. So really, I wouldn't see it any differently to that. And at the same time, it's energy being projected to you, and it comes with love. So there's nothing malicious about it. So absolutely perfectly fine, if you ask me. All right, I'm going to. So I just need to move some things around here, slide that over there, and then we come back to this. And we have the next question from L Tycoon. Hi, I'm new to your channel and I find it really helpful. Thanks for being here. Thanks for finding me. And welcome. I have a question, which is, can I call upon, invoke the same daemon whenever I wish or choose? Yeah, absolutely. The idea here is, though, to build a relationship with the daemon, which we are always talking about on this channel. So build a relationship, and then what happens is you form a bond, a connection. And therefore, when you need the energy of that daemon, you can then just call it. So when we are invoking a daemon, for instance, we are calling in the energy of that entity, that spirit. And we are asking that energy to, or that being, or the energy of that being to envelop us, to do whatever we need. It sounds a bit rude, but when I say do whatever we need, what I mean is there's the variety of ways we can actually use the energy. We can use it in talisman work, we can use it to add to a particular working, like a petition or petitioning the spirit itself. But we can also cause our own frequency, our own vibration to resonate at the same frequency as the energy of the daemon. So there's a variety of different ways we can work with that energy, but essentially what we're doing is we are connecting to the actual energy of the entity itself. So once we've built a relationship and we've created a bond, we can then just reach out and call that energy to us. So yes, absolutely. I'll just read that again, just in case I missed something. Can I call upon or invoke the same daemon whenever I wish or choose? Yeah. And I think probably an important distinction is that, these are fifth dimensional beings, so don't kind of view it as you are asking a friend to come over constantly, in which case they can't interact with other people. It's fifth dimensional entities. They interact with all space and time simultaneously in the now. So it's not like you are keeping them out of work or other relationships or whatever you may think of that being, but but it's a connection with the energy itself, and that energy is immense. It's everywhere at the same time. Okay, so that, I think, answers that one. All right, so the next question is from Cobnet Putch. Not sure if that's a Puck or a Putch. Correct me if I've got it completely wrong. Hey Lee, love your video. Thank you. Hello, how you doing? Question. I don't have anything from my ancestors. These are ones trying to reach me about the witch wound in my family line. Any suggestions? I was going to use my board, but don't know which demons to ask for help with this. Thanks. I wouldn't. You don't need to go to any demon at all, or any other spirit but your ancestors. So this is about creating ancestral worship or veneration. creating a practice around that itself. So what I would start with is just a simple altar. If you haven't got one already, but if you haven't, then just a simple altar. Just put a candle and a bowl of water and some incense on it, and sit there and just reach out to your ancestors as a collective. Don't reach out to any particular ancestor that you was part of your bloodline and has died. Just reach out to your ancestors as a collective. You're less likely to actually attract an astral parasite then, as there's no defining person that you're actually trying to reach out to. But yeah, reach out as a collective and ask them to give you a message, to make contact. It might then come in a dream or something like that. You might find that a mother type figure comes forward as the representative of this collective of ancestors. In Nordic traditions, this is usually referred to as the Disir, which are the mothers. They're not necessarily your birth mother, in fact, probably not connected at all, but are it's kind of like the mother ancestors themselves. Okay, but it's a collective again. So what you're doing really is reaching out to a collective of spirits of your ancestors. And then try and ask them to make contact, to come forward, and then when they do, as this one figure which is kind of the representation of the collective itself, then start working with that spirit, with that entity. You can then ask questions, you can ask to, what's going on, how do I do this, etc., etc. And the fantastic thing with working with your ancestors is that they can help you with everything. When you start working with other spirits, the Daemons, the gods and the goddesses, the angels, everything, all of these spirits, you can ask them to help you with discernment. Go to your ancestors and say, is this spirit really the spirit I wanted to contact, or is this a parasite or an imposter or something like that? And they'll say yes or no. Really as simple as that. So your ancestors are first line of contact, I would say, and reach out to them as a collective, and you'll be cool. Everything will be good. And not really much more I can say about that, I don't think. Just got to just do that and just put in the work, really. If you're still not clear, then what I would do is I will put a link to a video or live that we did on Into the Wildwood. It was specifically about ancestors and working with ancestors. Kai has had some fantastic explanations, some fantastic approaches to actually take in that live that we did. So it's definitely worth watching. I'll put that in a link at the top here, I think it is, or I'll put it in the description. I'll put it somewhere. There's going to be a link somewhere, and you can go watch that. All right, so I'm going to do one last question for today. And if you can hear the helicopter going over, just excuse that. All right, so this was from Jono. Hello, Jono, 5024. Very nice hat. Stop hypnotizing me at the start of the videos. Thank you, Uncle Lee. Thank you, Uncle. I couldn't figure out what you were talking about with the hypnotizing. I'm assuming it's the little intro for the to press the join button and join off or something. That's quite funny. I feel I must ask a question now, even though I just wanted to ask you to stop hypnotizing me. So here's one. I've got goofer dust, graveyard dirt, from a new grave in Radio Cop Cemetery. It was a weird experience, peaceful. I did everything right. Does the person whose grave it is matter? I'm using the soil to add seriousness and finality to workings. There was a portrait of a man lent on the tombstone. I've never forgot him. I'll never forget him, even though I've never met him, never known him. Sorry. kind of yes and no. I mean, this is going to vary between traditions. How you do graveyard or cemetery work is it gets kind of specific within particular paths and traditions. So it's difficult to actually say, but sort of generally speaking, the work you're doing is adding seriousness and finality to your working. So that's more of a kind of general thing. It's not specific like doing, trying to expand or grow your business, or trying to gain favor at the horse races or something like that, or doing execration or curse work. So that's a bit more specific than this just adding finality to your workings. And that's you can actually use any dirt for that, I'd say, because it's rooting the work in the earth itself, in the ground. So I wouldn't actually even bother going to the graveyard for that. You can go into your garden and get some soil there, which is probably actually better, because I'm assuming you are doing the working in your home or around your home, in your garden maybe, and that's where the energy is. So taking dirt from your garden to use in that kind of work where you are creating that finality and rooting the working itself, actually getting it in the ground, it's the closest you've got to the actual energy you're actually working with and doing. So I would actually go with that. I think when it comes to getting dirt, a lot of people read things online about, you get dirt from the graveyard, but there's not often mention of getting dirt from anywhere else. Now, I know you, so I know you read, actually, maybe you haven't. I know you've read one of Jason Miller's book, Consulting with Spirits, but I'm not sure if you read Financial Sorcery, that's what it's called. I do remember he spoke about this in there quite extensively, actually, is that depending on what work you're doing, again, if you're a gambler, if you do, you make bets at the horse track, on horse racing, then you can actually go to the track itself and get dirt there and add that to your magic. If you want to do something which affects your finances, therefore, tied in with your bank, for instance, you can go to your bank, your actual branch, and get dirt from there. So you can get dirt from multiple places. It's not just the graveyard, but I think a lot of people, when they talk about dirt, the immediate idea is cemetery, the graveyard. So I understand that. But when it comes to graveyard work itself, again, as I said, this is going to vary between traditions, but trying to keep it general. What you would usually do is, and this is very difficult, I know this is very difficult because I've tried it myself and I can't get the records. But what you would do if you want to work or do something which is, example, growing your business, then what you would do is find somebody in the graveyard, in the cemetery, that was a really good CEO, or a CFO, or something like that, something that focused a lot on business and was a fantastic businessman, or a great entrepreneur, or something like that, and ask for dirt from that particular grave. If it's baneful curse work, then you can find somebody who was a criminal, maybe even a murderer, ask for dirt from that particular grave. So it's kind of like the idea of the dirt which surrounds the actual grave itself is imbued with the energy of the person that was buried there. And then what you're doing is you are using the dirt from that particular spot, which is imbued with that energy, in order to enhance your own particular working. That's kind of the idea behind that. Just to note, if anybody is going to go and get dirt from the graveyard, please do it properly. You make proper offerings. You do an exchange. There's an exchange of gifting, of energy. you're taking something from the grave. You need to give something back. So really study, read up about this. It's not something you take lightly at all. If you do it, if you go in and you just take things willy-nilly and you don't give any offerings back, you're going to take something back with you. And that's not going to be very nice for you. So do everything properly, learn what you're supposed to be doing, and then, as I said, do it right. But yeah, that's kind of like the general idea. Your question really was, does the person whose grave it is matter? It can, yes. But as I said, it's extremely difficult. I can't get records of who was buried where, or find out who they were and what they did in life or anything like that. So it does get kind of difficult when you're in kind of a strange area. I say strange. I mean, I've lived here in Joburg, almost my whole life. But if I go to the cemetery up the road, I don't know anybody who was buried there. I haven't got a clue. None of my family was buried there. Nobody I've ever known in life was buried there. So I've got no connection to the cemetery itself, and therefore to try and find the records. So it really is. It's just a very, very difficult process. However, one thing you can do if you do this often, if you go to the cemetery and you do graveyard work often, is to actually get in contact with the guardian of the cemetery, of the graveyard. You'll find that there's one particular spirit that kind of overlooks and protects the graveyard itself. When you enter the graveyard, this is another thing you need to, this is why I say you need to actually study up and learn how to actually do this kind of working, because when you enter the graveyard itself, you give offerings to that graveyard spirit, and ask it if you can enter, if you can do your work within the space. Particular traditions will also cover their head when working the graveyard, just in case there's any other magicians or witches or workers within the graveyard itself who can then affect your own energy. When you leave, you do proper cleansing, unless you want to actually take something home with you. Sometimes you get strays that follow you home, and sometimes they can be very helpful, especially if you have been very respectful within the graveyard. So, there's all these things that you need to take into consideration when doing graveyard work. Yeah, I've gone off track now. I can't remember what I was talking about. I'm sure you know what I was talking about. So yeah, oh yes, that was it. The protective spirit, that the graveyard spirit itself. You can actually get in contact with that spirit and say, I need to do a particular working. This is when you built the relationship, obviously. I need to do a particular working. Can you direct me to a certain grave, a certain spot where I can take some dirt and I will give this particular offering in exchange, and then just let the spirit guide you to where you need to go and do what you need to do. So that's one way of getting around that. But as I said, I mean, that's a long-term thing. That's for somebody who is really working graveyards often, going there often, building that relationship with that spirit, and that takes time. I mean, that can take a year or two just to build that type of relationship. Yeah. So I think that does it for this week, actually. And therefore, I'm going to leave it there and do some more next week. So have a fun time until I see you again. Cheers for now. Bye bye.